be going on like 5 minutes. All right. Hello, welcome. Thank you guys for coming. Need equality, more seats. Seats. 2, 3, 4. Jeremy, can you pull out 4 seats? We have 2 seats here. 2 seats, please. Sorry. Welcome everyone to Hatch. Thank you for being here. We have 3 awesome presenters tonight. WordPress Daddy, Comparity, and 757 Recruit. Did I say that right? Let me see. He's not here, so he doesn't have to correct me if I was wrong. All right.
Technically, we're WP Daddy.
WP Daddy. All right. Both our friends at Endurance. So they're going to say a couple things in a minute, but thank you guys for coming to Hatch, where we empower businesses. We do this event every third Thursday, and this is month 49, I think, 49 or 50. So welcome and thank you for being a part of this. Each presenter has 15 minutes, which includes questions from you. Depending on how the mood, cut them off really hard at 15 minutes, or I let them talk a little bit longer. It just depends. Depends on if they're talking about insurance or not, or WordPress, or sports, I guess. Oh, funny that's what all of our presentations are about tonight. So, Blake, if you want to say a couple minutes.
Sure.
About Endurance.
Hi, everyone. I'm Blake White with Endurance IT Services. We're a local company based in Virginia Beach. We do enterprise IT infrastructure integration for companies. So we go off and build systems and back-end server storage, networking to run some of the great applications that might come out of Stark Norfolk and Hatch. So that being said, proud to be a sponsor of this initiative. Born and raised in Norfolk, so it's great to see some techie, buzz around the city of Norfolk. So again, proud to be here. Glad to be a sponsor. Real brief.
All right. First up in the hole, Carl.
All right. Thanks for coming out. I wonder if that's going to be an issue.
What?
The resolution is like way different. It's legible. We'll see how the slides go. All right, guys. So I'm Carl Cleanthus. The business I'm pitching tonight is WP Daddy, unlimited WordPress support. That's kind of a little tagline there. So really, with any good business or any business situation, entrepreneur sees a problem and see what they can do to make a solution with that. So over the years, I own a web development company. We do websites and all sorts of different stuff. And I sold lots of WordPress sites to all sorts of different businesses, all different walks of life, different levels of education and tech savviness, if you will. And they weren't being updated and maintained properly. So we build these great sites. These people invest this money in it. We spend our time and effort. We make this awesome site, and it just sits there. They don't do anything with it. They don't update it. They don't keep it up. And the question I ask myself is why? Why does this happen? How come we build this in this do-it-yourself platform, the WordPress? It's a CMS. It's easy to update, right? Well, some people just are plain not able. Like their computers scare them. A website is way out of their ballpark, and maybe they had somebody that was supposed to. The big issue is time. It takes a lot of time to do this. If you're not super savvy in WordPress or technical, it's the one who isn't, who is more savvy, or a budget. They don't have a budget to pay somebody to update it for them. If the other aspects of that don't work out. So the effects on the small business owner because of this, decreased profitability, increased risk. They made this investment and it's not fully being utilized. Some effects of a lack of updates. Your SEO rankings, they're not as good as they should be. If you're constantly updating your website with fresh content, Google loves that. I'm sure most of you guys know that. It's exactly the same thing as the last time they saw it, 6 months ago, a year ago, whatever the case may be. So you're not getting people coming back, checking out what you have going on. There's nothing exciting about your site at that point. The security of the site is a big issue. If you don't update your plugins and update the WordPress platform, as well as your themes, they can break if one thing's updated and the other ones aren't compatible anymore. There's security issues where people can hack into things, and there's things that are identified. Sometimes your hosting will even say, hey, you have to have this version or higher, or we're not even going to allow your site because it's creating a vulnerability issue on your server. It's also some loss of functionality there. Like I said, if your plugin's incompatible with your theme, that part of your site's just going to break. And then the loss of time. Some things that some business owners don't think of, especially startups and small businesses, are how much is your time worth? If you're going to spend an hour and a half doing something that a developer could probably do in 20, 15 minutes because they know exactly where to go, exactly what to do, you got to evaluate what's that worth to you. And then, every time, if you're not doing this stuff, you have to learn and relearn it every time you do an update. So even if you can do it, you're not that efficient at it. You're in this on the regular developing WordPress stuff. So the solution we came up with, we back in January of this year, we were doing research on all this stuff, and then we launched it. What we came up with was a reasonable monthly subscription plan that kind of addresses all of the issues of why someone. So an affordable subscription offers unlimited updates and maintenance. So you have this subscription, and you don't have to worry about it anymore. You know that you've got somebody that will handle pretty much everything you need. If you want to change something on your site, little details, that kind of stuff, it's no problem. You don't have to worry about it. So the idea is we want to empower business owners to get back to doing what they're good at. Like, go make money. Like, you do accounting, you do lawn maintenance, you do whatever you do. Go do that. That's going to make you more money than this subscription plan that we're going to offset that cost of your time. So, and our little tag press. I came up with that all on myself. We wanted to sweeten the deal a little bit. I always like to, so this is a good idea. How do we make it even better? How do we make it a no-brainer? So we have no contracts. It's a money-back guarantee, 1 business day turnaround. So if you need something done, we're going to get it done. Blogs. We have a blog on our website that's geared for small business owners, which is our demographic. A lot of there's 60 million WordPress sites out there. So a lot of businesses have WordPress sites. So we really wanted to cater towards that. Our blogs have all kinds of useful information about just growing and developing a business, as well as WordPress specific stuff. And in the blogs, we'll suggest plugins, and we also we'll give people feedback on their sites and stuff. So what's an affordable plan? Our basic plan starts at $65 a month, and that includes unlimited updates, 24-hour email support. We'll give you notes back on each job and what we did, as well as reactive support for plugins and updates. So, hey, I noticed this plugin was it's not updated. There's a patch that's available. Could you do that for me? Sure. On the Pro plan at $95 a month, we have unlimited support, detailed notes, 24-hour email support, same standard stuff. And then we also we have some tools that we use for that. We have weekly full site and database backups to Amazon S3, and that's actually incremental, different versions of it. So if something happened to your site, we can go back as far as a couple months and go, hey, this version's still fine. You didn't have that virus or whatever case we might be dealing with. Proactive WordPress plugins and updates. So when we see something needs to be updated, we're going to take care of that for you without having you have to ask for it on the Pro plan. And then 24/7 security monitoring, monthly reports. We'll install plugins and themes and recommendations, and then database optimization, making sure your site's running smoothly and efficiently. So what's a small job, and what can we easily accomplish in a small job? So we have adding the new plugins, installing a new theme with dummy content. We're not going to build that. We can't build out a whole website, but we can certainly drop in some dummy stuff. Social media links, updating blog posts, adding images, modifying content. Let's say you got a new employee. If you lost an employee, there's something you want to site. It's really easy for us to go add a page, drop in some content. So how it works.
Don't want somebody who's going to, as it's been said before, show up on the ticker, on the crawl on ESPN. If you're a character and you're screwing up, you're the kind of knucklehead that's going to cause problems in the off season. They don't want you. So you have to be able to demonstrate all 3 things. And really, it's to your advantage to show great character, because
we get it done in 24 hours, 1 business day. So our little thing is, You finish your coffee. Polish off.
Scholarship opportunity that you want. Another thing I remind kids of, and once the high school is over, if you haven't set yourself up properly for college recruitment, you're done. You're done playing football. There's not very many football opportunities after high school if you can't qualify to go to college. So I remind them, study harder, take the ACT or SAT seriously, complete your assignments. You see it all there. It's a reminder to these kids, and this is a way that I can be.
By Patrick and myself, founded just January 2015. We've created hundreds of websites over the years through our respective design companies. We only hire American-based staff. We're not outsourcing jobs overseas to do. I buy American, spend local. That's in everything that I do in all of my businesses. Definitely support America. So some frequently asked questions. I know we're not crazy.
There are 70,000 NCAA football players, of which 20,000 of them are freshmen playing in the NCAA. 6.5% of all high school football players make it to play NCAA football. There are 15,000 seniors playing NCAA football. 6,500.
We're going to fix that. Look, it doesn't matter.
50 invited to the combine, 256 drafted. You see, so on and so forth. My point is that every kid thinks he's going to play in the NFL. Another part of my job is to say it's great to have that aspiration.
Things at first, because usually there's a need when they sign up immediately, and then it sort of just thins out, and they
Track is pretty small. So if you made the NFL minimum in 2014 after taxes, you might make $250,000. And the average career in the NFL, a little years. If you're going to bring in $250,000 a year for 3 years, and hope you don't blow your knee out, hope you don't get injured, you're not even going to make $1 million playing football, and you certainly can't live the rest of your life on $1 million. So if you're going to go to college, you may as well get an education, and you may as well get an education in something you love, because you've got 40 years of work after football's over. And the average college graduate makes at least $20,000 more than the average high school graduate. So why wouldn't you use football?
It's outside of just some bigger maintenance deals. We'll actually probably refer you out.
Again, that feeds that whole cycle of let's get real, let's talk about being an adult. And this is,
We support as many sites as you.
have those NFL dreams, but we want you to get a college education. We'd love for you to come back to the area, but even if you don't come back to the area, be a productive young man. So I talked about different revenue streams. And doing this, and I'm still 5 years into it now, still relying on each one of these revenue streams to pay my bills. I'm to the point of being able to pay contract employees, but I'm not to the point of having staff. At least some people are employed full-time with benefits. But here's how I put it together. College scouting service. I have about 25 colleges that pay me to provide them information on the recruits in the area, and probably another 75, at least 50, that I can pick up the phone at any time and call and say, hey, you need to check out this kid. Advertiser revenue. Recruit757.com did 3
But it shouldn't go more than
last year. I have, thank you. And Jeremy helps me with managing the site. I do all the content management myself. I have a couple of writers that I pay with on contract to make their contributions. I also believe wholeheartedly in providing internships, and I have several college students that work for me doing a variety of different things. But advertiser revenue is a big part of it. Buffalo Wild Wings, as an example, is a great client of mine that's been on for several years on an annual contract, and they spend about
make sure that your website is up.
getting 100,000 impressions per month at $10 cost per thousand. Again, going back into that whole advertiser model and that background, pretty much everything that I do is at a
We also have some great articles on that on our blog about site hacking and how to help prevent that. So the quick summary, unlimited support, proactive security, affordable monthly plan, unlimited updates, you save time and money, and there's no do-it-yourself development fees, 24-hour turnaround, increased site security, and just peace of mind. Sign up while the rates are still low, daddy.com. We probably will eventually end up raising our rates, but I think we're comfortable with where they're at right now. So. Does anyone have any questions?
You also provide SEO, correct?
No, this service doesn't provide any SEO. My comment about
To manage their profile if they elect to do that. That allows me to let them keep up with height, weight, telephone numbers, GPA, interested college majors, and all sorts of things that they can add that helps me keep up with who's who and who's doing what. Marketing and advertising consulting I mentioned is one of my other revenue streams. It's not even related directly to Recruit 757. However, I do go out and meet with a lot of different clients, and I'm able to offer that as a service above and beyond what they're already doing. And then events, when we do camps, we charge for camps and for coaching and so forth, but that's something where they're getting the exposure and they're getting a lot of.
That's what I was asking.
Oh, cool.
That was a good price. If you did all that 60.
oh no,
$60
no, we can yeah for
I'm
sure.
about to say, wow.
It's still a good price though. Go ahead, Jim.
So being another WordPress developer, time is definitely worth more than $60 per hour.
Yes.
So, and in the case where like Revolution Slider, 10 sites that you're managing, how do you, this is for the back end business side, how are you going to manage that when you have 5 sites that might be active now?
Because every month has a budget, every year has a budget, and the months and years just keep flying by, and there's never an end to the budgets that have to be met and the quotas that have to be met. And even if you're working for yourself, if you're not setting quotas for yourself, you're doing yourself a disservice. Feeding the beast. That's a website that where people expect to come and see new stuff every day. I got to come up with something to talk about every day. Sometimes it's my opinion. A lot of times it's keeping up with the kids in the area and what they're doing with their recruitment. It's funny, I was sitting in the back row interviewing a kid via Facebook right now who just got an offer from Old Dominion. And the nice thing is the longer I do this, the more kids are trained to be in touch with me to let me know what's going on with their college recruitment, because it's to their benefit to let me know so I can let the greater public know. And when the greater public knows, the college coaches that are out there checking out the website know. And if they see, oh, well, Old Dominion offered this kid, we really ought to consider offering the kid. As I tell kids and parents, offers beget offers. That's the other thing that's really a great analogy is I tell kids all the time, because you may see a kid that gets 30 or 40 or 50.
It's not going to be from India, but it will be.
Sure. So I'm not. So we're not saying that like, if it's an urgent issue, we need to fix it immediately.
It's like getting married. You can date as many girls as you want. You're only going to marry one. And it's the same thing with college scholarships. It's frustrating to see some other kid get dozens of offers and a lot of college interest while you think just as good. But realistically, you're only going to go to one college. You only need the one opportunity that's going to be the difference maker for you and to achieve what you want to achieve.
Like, don't take advantage of us. You know what I mean? Like, if your site's down, that's urgent. You know, if there's some things going on and we have to get this done because you have a special case, like, we get that. We're having conversations and building relationships. But, you know, if you have something urgent every weekend, I'm gonna give you a call and go, hey, what's going on here? Like, let's talk about what's really urgent.
So does that mean somebody's on call though?
Yeah. So we do have a developer on call.
I love nothing more than to help people achieve their goals. And I've had several people work for me, either as interns or as low-paid employees that have gone on to bigger things like working for ESPN Radio, I've got one now that's working for Channel 13, doing video work. It's an honor to me I don't want to lose anybody, but when I lose someone because they get a greater opportunity, I'm all for it. And I'd love nothing more than to have an opportunity later.
We see that this is urgent. We're going to jump on it as fast as
I
possible.
think you're going to have a strong, that word urgent, 24 hours, I think they mean the same thing.
Sure.
And so I think you're going to, from a context standpoint, you're.
Yes, sir.
First, I would say great idea. Second, I want to say I really admire the fact that you're a big aspect of not just let's get these potential marketable kids to the money. It's let's make them well-informed people. I was curious about your website subscriptions. You said it's up to them whether they want to or not. Because throughout the whole time, I was under the impression that you made sure that
In the middle of the night, if I'm working in the morning and I call, I expect to talk.
Or your hosting site goes down.
What's that?
Or your hosting site goes down.
I mean, I understand what you're saying.
One of the things that I think about is what he said is that this is people that maybe have been renting the WordPress site for umpteen years. Like, it's not necessarily meant for people who business.
An enterprise
depends
level,
on
yeah.
The functionality.
We're really pushing towards the small business owner too. So, yeah,
You're probably not gonna run into that, but you might.
yeah. Who knows?
I just want to throw something I really appreciate is that you have like a signed person to that client. Because to me, as a consumer, that's probably one of the most annoying things to me, that I have to re-explain what I'm doing every time I talk to
Yes.
someone.
Yeah, and that is why we set it up that way, so that you don't have to redefine everything. I don't have to depend
Probably 10 to 20%. Unfortunately, I wish it were better.
oh yeah,
I wish it were more.
yeah, I would try and
exactly what's going on with you.
Yeah, it feels like no one really cares, honestly.
Sure. Yeah. So we're trying to bring that personal level back into.
Challenges, the kid that gets 50 offers is often the kid that's getting tons up over the place. So that's the kid that not only does UVA and Virginia Tech know about because they're in state here, but Alabama and Auburn and Ohio State, Florida State, what have you, know about this kid. So there's really less I can do to help the kid who's going to get 50 offers than the kid who might be a Division II or Division III ball player and just needs to be seen. Yes.
So how do you quality control like what people put for their stats? I mean, I remember in high school, like how you get the program.
Your information, or just log in, drop it in there, no big deal.
How are you partnering so far?
Sure. Well, right now we're doing a lot of organic stuff on SEO. Working on social media. Excuse me.
That they are a varsity starter in good academic standing with a plan to play college football. I've had athletes that are baseball players also play football that don't get listed, and they have busted my chops. Hey, I'm better than so-and-so. Why am I not on the site? You've already committed to play baseball.
Yeah.
This is a football site, and
no actual quotes. And CoverHound is probably our most closely aligned competitor in the sense they do offer a home product, but they're really just like a giant insurance agency that has an online presence. So they're completely biased about you buying one of their policies or their carriers.
really quickly, if I could.
Sure.
Places like Al Vincent and so forth. Are they just simply when you go in there and you pay the fee and they do this? That's basically what they do. They send out and they tell you what the quotes are. Are they using just simply one of these?
They're using
exclusively in partnership with.
Right. So an independent agent could use what's called a comparative rater to give you an idea of the carriers that they cover. So they might have 4 to 5 different companies, and they'll try to give you an option and then narrow it down from there. What we're doing is we're going to the full suite of carriers and getting the actual quotes back for you.
Right, but this is actually because that's actually how I got my last policy because I had some tickets issues. So I was getting high quotes for it, so I went to Al Vincent. And I think they were going to do like 20. And, basically turned the computer and showed me what each one quoted me, which here's your cheapest. Obviously,
that's a rate. Yeah, that's a rate aggregator or a lead aggregator or quote aggregator, however you want to look at it. And what they're typically doing is they're narrowing the selection, and then once you pick that selection, then you've got to go through the application process to then bind that policy. We're taking that
so
step out.
Straight to that.
We're going straight to the quote. So how are we going to win market share against competitors? And I'll tell you that this space is very quickly becoming an interesting space. Walmart has entered, Overstock.com has entered, and Google has recently partnered with Compare.com to launch an auto comparison service in California. So we're focusing on homes. We're the only ones that can do it. Nobody else is offering a home comparison product. We're getting the multiple policies as a result, which leads to higher premium and higher fees because we have a fee-based structure. They get the multi-policy discounts for the consumer, and obviously, again, less competition. We're going to target the referral sources. Our customers will grow exponentially with our referral sources because each referral source continues to send their clients to us as we grow that list of realtors and mortgage lenders that send us their customers. We're also working with financial planners who are trying to make sure their clients have the right coverage and looking to reinvest some of the money that they've saved. We'll look at developing key partnerships with companies like Quicken Loans and LendingTree, where we can simply plug in and make this a part of the loan application process because insurance is so key to that closing number. And lastly, there's a lot of talk about insurance right now and an opportunity for us to get a lot of free press from people that focus on financial services like the Susie Ormans, the Dave Ramseys. And you'll see in our financial model, we haven't even built in a word of mouth component. And I'll tell you that the 2 years we've been in business, for every customer we serve, they've sent us at least one, maybe even 2 referrals. I mentioned I'm the founder and president of the company. I'm also accompanied by Kevin Curry. Many of you from Hatch know him. Kevin's our CTO. He really focuses on the tech strategy, and I'm really involved in setting up the partnerships and where the company's going in terms of our relationships with insurance providers and carriers. But we have a full tech plan, and I'm going to show at the end of the slide deck kind of what we're hoping to do in our next phase of development. But basically, we have our front end developed where customers can go on and submit applications. And now we're looking to automate our process and add a mobile feature. And that's kind of what Kevin is tasked with. In our 2 years, we served more than 1,000 customers. And a lot of people say that doesn't sound like a lot. And I'll tell you that relative to where we're going, it's not. But to serve 1,000 insurance customers, and we're talking 5 to 10 quotes per customer, and really understand how the process flows from agent to customer was really critical. What we saw in this process was that we were closing at twice the industry average. And the reason being was that consumers really want to look at 3 to 5 companies when they make a decision. Well, we're supplying that, which then means they're effectively keeping their decision in our span of carriers. So our agency partners have also seen their closing rates go up in terms of the amount of business they're writing relative to the quotes they're supplying. Our average fee right now is $295, and that's on $2,100 in premium. And again, that's a much higher average premium than most insurance agents see from their quoting process. So we're blowing out every statistic that every agent has ever seen, and that's kept them really loyal to us as well. All of the agents that have been with us have stayed with us since the start of this company. And in fact, several of them are actually taking losses on the first year that they write a policy just to stay in the model long term. You can see in our projections, and this is a post-money projection, really the loss in 2015 is driven by the fact that we're spending a lot of money getting our sales force out in place and spending money on technology. But you can see that obviously our margins over time are very nice because the technology keeps our labor requirements down from an agent perspective. Where we are today is we're trying to raise $1.5 million in exchange for 30% equity. And we're going to put 1/3 of that fully into technology to complete every phase of technology that we have. And that's going to probably take 12 to 16 weeks. We have 1/3 dedicated to the initial sales force, and we're going to be focusing on the markets that are delivering the highest sales volumes for new home purchases. And there's going to be areas like Denver, Washington, D.C. I mean, we have a map overlaid with insurance premiums and high home sales transactions. And then, of course, 1/3 dedicated to operational costs and social media advertising. Not looking to do any sort of traditional television or radio advertising where we're going to get lost in the $1.2 billion that Geico spent last year. And so that's Comparity, and I'll open it up to any questions you guys have. Yes, ma'am.
Quick question. Are you going to be opening it eventually up to like small businesses that are looking for insurance? Because there are companies that do have actual hardware and they need to protect their liabilities. So would that be something that you'd be looking into as far as the market?
Absolutely. So the things that we'll be looking into are life insurance. We already offer flood insurance. That's actually one of our niche focuses and what's helped us really gain some traction in coastal markets like Hampton Roads. Small business is going to be a little bit more complex, and underwriting commercial properties is not as simplistic, even though this is still challenging. Commercial is even more challenging. There's some things that we're going to have to understand, and that will probably be several years out before we would offer a commercial product. Yes, sir.
Thanks for sharing all that detailed information. Interesting to see how you play with scale. So I kind of wonder, like, it seems like you're serving two masters, kind of, right? The companies who are writing the policies and getting consumers to come and choose your service versus another. Like, what about the tensions there between what each wants and what each wants to deliver?
It's actually a perfect marriage. And so what we've done is we've simplified it. You know, our Kevin actually said, you know, we keep using the analogy of like Kayak or Travelocity for insurance, but really it's almost like Match.com for insurance. And insurance is about risk, and it's about finding the right risk for the right person. And so companies have risk pools, and what we're in essence doing is finding the shortest route to the risk that the insurance company wants to write and the risk that the customer presents. And so by shortening this game and just making it easier for the consumer to get there, we've taken a huge weight off their shoulders. And just through the sort of laws of natural attraction and actuarial writing, they end up with the policy that's right for their needs. I don't know if that answered your question or.
Well, the fact that you have, you said you have agents who are willing to take a loss the first year to make it work, it sounds like quite a people working for them. I guess I just wonder, you know, consumer always wants more and more information, more giveaways, more free stuff, and the companies who are going to be writing that stuff don't want to race down the rabbit hole of competing in this
Competing on price, absolutely.
Right.
So that's one of the things that set us apart that I think is really big for the agents is they don't want a model where they're competing solely on price. And we frequently find that we're not putting people in the lowest cost policy. A great example is with homeowners insurance in Virginia Beach. If you buy a home close to the water, there are a number of companies that aren't going to insure you. Like State Farm right now has a major underwriting restriction in this marketplace. The beauty is that a new entrant came into the marketplace, a company called Occidental, that hadn't filled up their coastal risk profile. They're an admitted carrier, they're a great provider, and they meet a customer's needs. And we're helping deliver that consumer to them. And the consumer's actually getting a really great policy, even though it's maybe a little bit more expensive than, say, a surplus lines company like a Lloyd's. They're getting a better option. And the insurance companies like the fact that we're worried about the coverage, not just price. Yes, sir.
What did you do before this, and what made you want to do this?
I was actually an executive headhunter for like 18 years,
Okay.
Placing executives with Kellogg, Dell, Mars. And in 2008-9, the headhunting market absolutely tanked, as you can imagine. Companies had stacks of resumes on their desk, and I was being asked to do outplacement work rather than hire people. And a buddy of mine who runs an insurance agency came to me and said, I've got this idea. And really it was his concept of not paying lead fees that started this whole thing in motion. He was sick of paying $25 and calling a customer 18 times and hearing, you know, look, I've already gotten a policy.
Okay. Yeah, that's great.
Yes, sir.
I haven't been a PNC agent. Years ago, I was a life insurance agent. It seems to me that one of your biggest value propositions is your ability to say to an agent, you don't have to take a nap. So it takes a lot of time, a huge chunk of time to take an application. I'm sure that PNC is every bit as bad as life insurance, if not worse.
It's much worse. The homeowner's application is extremely intensive. And one of the things that we're doing is we're making that really simple for them to walk through and understand. And there are not many companies that have been able to do that. We'll also have that 24/7 agent support during that process so that if the customer runs into problems, they can ask questions. But it's actually probably 2 or 3 times more time consuming than a life insurance application. So yeah, absolutely. This makes their lives really easy. I mean, they get over a completed application, and the next phase of technology development, it'll be as simple as clicking and importing it into their agency management system to then produce the quote.
I met with a captive agency today that is saying that it doesn't look like, it looks like this particular type of captive PNC agency is going to change radically over the next 3 or 4 years. And so they're taking on outside lines and doing all kinds of stuff. He verified a lot of what we just said. I think he would be the perfect type of guy that would look for you guys to save a lot of time.
What we will see is in the insurance business, much like the travel business, as these types of companies like Comparity come into the marketplace and start to simplify this connection, there will be a consolidation. And there will be agencies that will grow and succeed based on participation and technological advancements. But there will be a thinning of the herd over time as these companies grow. And this has been already in the United Kingdom, 60% of policies are purchased online on the auto side. That's a massive number. I mean, when you think about that relative to where we are in the US, it's huge. What's happened though, is there's been this big backlash and the consumer is left holding the bag because they don't have an agent supporting them. And what we've tried to create is kind of a marriage of both worlds, saying, we're going to give you the ease of access like they have in the UK, but the support that we've always had in the US in this agency model.
Are mortgage companies your principal customers?
Mortgage companies and real estate agents, both. We get pretty much a 50-50 split. Long term, we'll focus on the mortgage lenders because there are fewer of them with higher transaction volumes, whereas the realtors more infrequently send referrals.
And I would think that the mortgage companies would be under greater time pressure.
Absolutely.
To get something done quickly, and you would offer speed.
We're actually going to offer them a portal that will allow them to submit mortgagee clauses, loan numbers, download evidence of insurance, and track their consumer throughout the process. So it's a service to them beyond just getting the quote.
Yeah, makes sense.
Two things real quick. One, I'm gonna say it's a great idea as far as when it comes to home loans, because like you said, the insurance meeting the income to debt, that $20-$30 could mean yes or no on a house.
For sure.
And a lot of times you can find $20-$30 somewhere by comparing. And when you don't have someone doing that, you lose out on a house over $20. They might have not told you didn't budget for $20, $30 or $100, but that may have been the reason they didn't meet the income to debt. So one, that's a really good idea. And two, I actually just sat down with a State Farm, a woman who actually opened up a recent office right here on Yonkers. And I was speaking to her, and she actually told me that State Farm is actually over the next 5 to 10 years are getting completely out of auto insurance because from what they're hearing, it's no longer even going to be like the cars with the sensor technology. They're going to stop themselves, and car insurance is almost going to be non-existent. I haven't really researched that, but it seems very feasible. If State Farm is actually veering away from auto and really going into mortgage, like it's probably.
Yeah, it'll be many years, I think, before we see a change that dramatic where State Farm is the #1 writer of automobile insurance in the country. So I can't imagine that they would give that up. But I will say that driverless cars are certainly going to change the face of insurance and how risk is assessed and where liability exists. And we believe we'll be positioned,
Right, you're already positioned. So when that comes in, you just grab the other people in risk assessment when it comes to that, and you're already in the market.
Absolutely.
Scott, thank you so much.
No problem.
All right, and finally, one of the biggest hustlers I know. This man drove.
Thank you.
From Norfolk all the way to Yorktown
And
back
back.
to Norfolk. Beat the traffic. Use tunnel traffic to get through.
That's right.
If you don't know about tunnel traffic or what it is, you go to tunneltraffic.com. Download it on the internet. It's free.
So I'm Andy Hilton. I run Recruit 757. I'll tell you a little bit. Gosh, I kind of don't know where to start. And I put this together this morning. I think today was a pretty typical day for me because it was write 2 articles, update Facebook pages for several of my clients that I run Facebook social media management for. Let's see, put together this PowerPoint. Have a lunch meeting to talk about more clients and possibilities. Had a high school visit today with Lake Taylor High School with their 4A state champion football team that got their rings today. Went to meet with Hampton Roads Harley Davidson, who I do their digital and social media management, and then fought tunnel traffic back here to be here by 6 or 6:30 to get this done. So I appreciate you, Zach, for putting me at the end because it made it that much easier for me to make sure I was here. My background is in media and marketing, and most specifically, I spent 20 years as a rep and later as a sales manager, both on the national and local sales management side in television and radio. And through the evolution of my career and figuring out what I liked, what I enjoyed to do, and what I grew to somewhat dislike about the advertising business, one of the main things was feeling like I was selling stuff to people that didn't necessarily need what we were selling. And let me clarify that by saying, if you're in the television, radio ad business, or any advertising business for that matter, the biggest thing is to push bright, shiny new car, legal service, that beautiful food, whatever it is, make it look great. That's part of advertising. But quite often you're trying to create a need. You're trying to coerce people into consuming. Consumption is a big part of our society. At some point, eventually, I looked at it and went, there's got to be something else out there. And I started working with, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but started working with one of my passions, which was football and sports, and found a solution to what I wanted to do. And it took some thought, and I kind of fell into it. And I wanted to put this, when I put this PowerPoint together, I didn't want to necessarily sell you guys on a service so much as from a business owner to a business owner, talk about the process, because I've been in business for myself now for 5 years. So that's sort of an idea of where it came from, was a passion for football, a passion for sports, and working in it for free until I figured out a way to make money at it. So uncovering the niche, diverse, where are we going to talk about here? Again, where did it come from? Talking about passion, uncovering a niche, diversifying your risk, which I have a lot of different revenue streams. And as Zach mentioned, a lot of hustle. It takes a lot of hustle. I do a lot of different stuff and wear a lot of different hats, and it can be exhausting at times. But when it's yours, it can also be very rewarding. Sweat equity. I started my business with a severance check that came from Wavy and Fox 43. Very simply put, I was a manager there and had a nice little severance package, and kind of fell into doing this because all of a sudden I had the opportunity to be my own boss, and I said, why not? And it took a heck of a leap of faith. And sometimes I still question my sanity on why I did it. But again, going back to the career marketing and passion for sports, blended that together. I had a connection with the University of Memphis, which is about 1,000 miles away, and had a crappy football program, and really needed some help in football recruiting. This was while I was still working in television, picked up the phone and called a buddy of mine who at the time was the president of the booster club for the football program, and put me in touch with the coach that I needed to talk to. And the coach didn't believe me when I said, we have some great football talent here. Have you heard of Bruce Smith? Have you heard of Allen Iverson's basketball, but believe it or not, he did play football, and he was a hell of a football player. There are Michael Vick. I mean, you could go on and on about a lot of the football talent that's here, and we breed some great talent. And one of the challenges was not everybody knows how great the talent is here, and it took me 2 years to convince the University of Memphis that they actually need to send a coach here to recruit some of the players. And in that 2 years of feeding them information and them asking questions, and why do I need to recruit this guy? They would tell me, okay, well, send me video. I sent them video. Confirm this guy's height and weight for me. How am I going to do that? Well, you figure it out real quickly when you got to do it. You go and see the kid, even if you have to go on a Friday night or Saturday afternoon and stand along the fence line and go, yeah, he really is 5'10". Give me his phone number. I'm not going to have the kid's phone number. Well, you figure out a way to make it happen. And finally, after about 2 years, got them out here, got a coach out here to recruit. And the coach, I drove him around and took him to a couple of football games, and there's NCAA regulations that are involved and so forth. But long story short, he told me flat out, you really know what you're talking about, which was kind of news to me because really I kind of fell into it. I have a passion of wanting to help the football program, not necessarily knowing, do I really know my stuff? But I had enough contacts with the football coaches and been around sports long enough to know a good athlete when I see one. And the coach said, that kid, he could start at linebacker for us in the fall. This kid, he's better than anybody we have on the team in that position. Really floored me to know that, hey, I do know what I'm talking about. And they were thrilled to come out here. They laid 5 offers out right there to kids from Churchland and Maury and Oscar Smith. And actually, some of those programs, if you don't know local high school football, Churchland and Maury don't send a ton of kids to college ball. Maury specifically has Cam Chancellor, but there are a limited number of kids that make it from those programs. So that to me that filled a passion for me, was being able to provide an opportunity for kids that weren't getting an opportunity otherwise. And by the way, I was able to help my alma mater. And of all things, that happened in October. By December, the head coach at Memphis got fired after being there for 9 years, and all the coaching staff was scattered to the winds, which is what happens in college football. When the head coach is gone, the new head coach typically brings in his own guys. So that led to flipping the script. And of all things, I got laid off right at about the same time after 11 years at Wavy and Fox, and got the severance package and scratched my head and went, okay, what do I do now? Well, I really got a kick out of helping the kids. And since I've established all these contacts, and then by the course of doing all this homework, had a database already of several hundred players, and then started blogging and went, okay, I know how to sell. I know marketing. I can learn how to fill a website with content. I know the players already. I already have college relationships. And by the way, when the coaching staff gets blown up, those guys get jobs somewhere else. So now I have a relationship at Tennessee and Ole Miss and a couple of other schools. Pick up the phone and call them. And one of the other things the coach said to me, which I never thought of, is you should open a scouting service. Never really heard of how that worked. Had to figure out how it worked, but had to innovate, had to figure it out. And the technology age enabled it to happen, because 15 years ago, 10 years ago even, you couldn't really do your own media outlet. But I decided I've got a little time on my hands, and I've got a few months, if not more, to figure all this out. And I did, and started a website and used social media to leverage traffic to that site, took a calculated risk, and started recruit757.com. And I don't know if I mentioned it. Well, I did mention at the beginning about content management and so forth. It's all these little pieces that come together. So working with building this website, realized first and foremost from the media side of things, and it's funny how television stations and radio stations too, but television stations more so, got into building a .com image for their television stations. So Wavy.com, for instance, has hundreds of thousands of users, tons of traffic. They're evolving into where the .com is becoming more and more important. I don't dare say more important than the television station, but they have to generate revenue from that and have been doing so for years. So taking from that, knowing that engagement is the key. So I use social media. I take a lot of pictures. I started it as a one-man band and have since been able to hire folks to do contract work for me in photography and writing and other elements. Keep up with the scores. I have folks that run game film at a lot of different games across the area on a Friday night. So what's a great way to get engagement? Tweet out those scores. Recruit 757 is a source for scores on Friday nights, and that by leaps and bounds increased the knowledge about it. Doing events, a scholarship workshop, a senior showcase. We run every year an uncommitted senior showcase camp that invites in college coaches from all over who recruit the region. So several dozen coaches show up. We'll get 150 kids who haven't committed anywhere yet, may have offers, may not have offers, but are looking to play college football, and get them the offers that they're looking for. Again, going back to daily blogging and keeping up with news, doing television radio segments. I still have a great relationship with Wavy and go on their air to talk high school football, which is a great opportunity. Certainly didn't burn the bridge there. And then added additional punch with some paid marketing, whether it's newspaper, billboards, there's a variety of stuff, social media, there's a lot of stuff that I've done over the course of things. I find this stuff fun, and then it goes back to the passion. I put this stool up there because as I do talks to parents and players, unless you've been through the recruiting process to be a college athlete, you don't know how it works. It's a complicated process. And I use this stool as an analogy, saying that you have to have a solid foundation, and that foundation has 3 legs, and that's athletics, academics, and character. So when I talk to high school athletes that want to get recruited for college, I remind them that it takes all 3 to earn that scholarship. Athletics, of course, because if you didn't have athletic ability, you're not going to get recruited. But academics, you have to be able to qualify academically to get into college. And in the case of higher academic institutions, Ivy League or not even Ivy League, William and Mary and so forth, you have to meet their academic standards in order to earn that scholarship. And thirdly is character. College coaches don't want somebody who's going to, as it's been said before, show up on the ticker, on the crawl on ESPN. If you're a character or lacking character and you're screwing up, you're the kind of knucklehead that's going to cause problems in the offseason. They don't want you. So you have to be able to demonstrate all 3 things. And really, it's to your advantage to show great character because it differentiates you, the recruit, from tens of thousands of other kids that want the same scholarship opportunity that you want. Another thing I remind kids of, and once the high school is over, if you haven't set yourself up properly for college recruitment, you're done. You're done playing football. There's not very many football opportunities after high school if you can't qualify to go to college. So I remind them, study harder, take the ACT or SAT seriously, complete your assignments. You see it all there. It's a reminder to these kids. And this is a way that I can be thrilled about giving back to the community because the kids need to hear it. The parents love to hear it. If they're not already stressing this stuff, they love to have me stress it with the kids. And to me, it's very important because these kids are the ones that are going to grow up to be hopefully productive young men and give back to the community. And this is something I shared and share often, but created it last year to illustrate the point. Here's the numbers. There are over 1 million football players, high school football players in the nation. There are over 300,000 high school football seniors. There are 70,000 NCAA football players, of which 20,000 of them are freshmen playing in the NCAA. 6.5% of all high school football players make it to play NCAA football. There are 15,000 seniors playing NCAA football. 6,500 of them will get scouted by the NFL, 350 invited to the combine, 256 drafted, you see, so on and so forth. My point is that almost to a T, every kid thinks he's going to play in the NFL. Another part of my job is to say it's great to have that aspiration. But look at the numbers. And even if you made it, the chances of you being the superstar that gets the multi-million-dollar contract is pretty small. So if you made the NFL minimum in 2014 after taxes, you might make $250,000. And the average career in the NFL, a little over 3 years. If you're going to bring in $250,000 a year for 3 years and hope you don't blow your knee out, hope you don't get injured, you're not even going to make $1 million playing football, and you certainly can't live the rest of your life on $1 million. So if you're going to go to college, you may as well get an education, and you may as well get an education in something you love because you've got 40 years to work after football's over. And the average college graduate makes at least $20,000 more than the average high school graduate. So why wouldn't you use football to get a college education, doing something you love? And again, that feeds that whole cycle of let's get real, let's talk about being an adult. And this is what goes into being an adult. It's great to have those NFL dreams, but we want you to get a college education. We'd love for you to come back to the area, but even if you don't come back to the area, be a productive young man. So I talked about different revenue streams. And doing this, and I'm still 5 years into it now, still relying on each one of these revenue streams to pay my bills. I'm to the point of being able to pay contract employees, but I'm not to the point of having staff. At least some people are employed full-time with benefits. But here's how I put it together. College scouting service. I have about 25 colleges that pay me to provide them information on the recruits in the area, and probably another 75, at least 50, that I can pick up the phone at any time and call and say, hey, you need to check out this kid. Advertiser revenue. Recruit757.com did 3.2 million page views last year. I have, thank you. And Jeremy helps me with managing the site. I do all the content management myself. I have a couple of writers that I pay with on contract to make their contributions. I also believe wholeheartedly in providing internships, and I have several college students that work for me doing a variety of different things. But advertiser revenue is a big part of it. Buffalo Wild Wings, as an example, is a great client of mine. They've been on for several years on an annual contract, and they spend about $1,000 a month getting 100,000 impressions per month at $10 cost per thousand. Again, going back into that whole advertiser model and that background, pretty much everything that I do is at a $10 cost per thousand for display ads, plus social media exposure, plus promotion, depending on how big of an investment they make, because Buffalo Wild Wings has the Player of the Week award. So I pay to have an award produced every week. We do a vote online, which of course is run with, not of course, but it is run through Facebook, which increases our Facebook traffic, increases our likes on Facebook, increases engagement, gets the kids talking about it, gets the grandmas and moms and dads voting on it. Buffalo Wild Wings is present for the presentation at practice the following week. We take pictures. It goes up on the website and on social media, and it's a big circle of exposure and engagement that feeds itself. Website subscriptions. The only thing I charge players and parents for is $60 a year to manage their profile if they elect to do that. That allows me to let them keep up with height, weight, telephone numbers, GPA, interested college majors, and all sorts of things that they can add that helps me keep up with who's who and who's doing what. Marketing and advertising consulting, I mentioned, is one of my other revenue streams. It's not even related directly to Recruit 757. However, I do go out and meet with a lot of different clients, and I'm able to offer that as a service above and beyond what they're already doing. And then events, when we do camps, we charge for camps and for coaching and so forth, but that's something where they're getting the exposure and they're getting a lot of benefits out of it. Being prepared, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about being 5 years in now and not knowing whether some of you are just in the startup process, considering a business, or been at it for a long time. But I mentioned with a laugh, as many hats as I wear, it's a psychological challenge day by day. There's some days it's great to get up, great to be me. There's other days where, how am I going to get it all done? The race never ends. That's something that I learned from the sales business and the marketing and advertising side, because every month has a budget, every year has a budget, and the months and years just keep flying by, and there's never an end to the budgets that have to be met and the quotas that have to be met. And even if you're working for yourself, if you're not setting quotas for yourself, you're doing yourself a disservice. Feeding the beast, that's the content piece. Running a website where people expect to come and see new stuff every day. I got to come up with something to talk about every day. Sometimes it's my opinion. A lot of times it's keeping up with the kids in the area and what they're doing with their recruitment. It's funny, I was sitting on the back row interviewing a kid via Facebook right now who just got an offer from Old Dominion. And the nice thing is, the longer I do this, the more kids are trained to be in touch with me to let me know what's going on with their college recruitment, because it's to their benefit to let me know so I can let the greater public know. And when the greater public knows, the other college coaches that are out there checking out the website know. And if they see, oh, well, Old Dominion offered this kid, we really ought to consider offering the kid. And as I tell kids and parents, offers beget offers. That's the other thing that's really a great analogy is I tell kids all the time, because you may see a kid that gets 30 or 40 or 50 college offers, and you wonder why this other kid who seems to be just as good doesn't get any. And I tell the kids and the parents, it's like dating. It's like getting married. You can date as many girls as you want. You're only going to marry one. And it's the same thing with college scholarships. it's frustrating to see some other kid get dozens of offers and a lot of college interest while you think you're just as good. But realistically, you're only going to go to one college. You only need the one opportunity that's going to be the difference maker for you and to achieve what you want to achieve, which is to get to college in a good place that's a good fit to play football and get a college education. The challenge of hiring, I mentioned that as well. And contract employees is what I've had to do to this point. But the nice thing is I feel like I have a fun business. There are enough people that want to jump in. The biggest problem I have is finding people whose hearts are in the right place, who are doing it for the right reason. And I love nothing more than to help people achieve their goals. And I've had several people work for me, either as interns or as low-paid employees that have gone on to bigger things like working for ESPN Radio, I've got one now that's working for Channel 13, doing video work. It's an honor to me to be able to I don't want to lose anybody, but when I lose someone because they get a greater opportunity, I'm all for it. And I'd love nothing more than to have an opportunity later to hire them back because I know that they're good people. That being said, as much as we'll do it, there's dozens of ways to do it. There's dozens of ways to innovate and to find your niche and find your passion. And thanks to Zach and Hatch for putting this together, and thanks for the inspiration. Yes, sir.
First, I want to tell you great idea. Second, I want to tell you I really admire the fact that you added a big aspect of not just let's get these potential marketable kids to the money. It's let's make them well-formed people. And that's why I was curious about your website subscriptions. You said it's up to them whether they want to or not. Because throughout the whole time, I was under the impression that you made sure that you had some hand in the parents or the projection of each player. That is
oh yeah, no, I would say, and I create the profile.
Right. And okay.
So I manage the profile. They can jump in to add detail to that profile.
Right. Yeah, I was just saying, like the first guy was saying, sometimes it's important to not let that be incorrect information, especially like you said, they'll send you out to make sure he's 5'10". So that may be the one deciding factor that keeps them, that moves them on. And if that's not updated, so I would say that's probably a huge, a huge area that would be pushed.
And that's always a challenge. I have
they may not always maintain it, but
currently at any given point in time, I have about 500 kids to keep up with.
And how many of them choose to have you help them with the Facebook page and present the?
It's probably 10 to 20%. Unfortunately, I wish it were better.
Oh yeah.
I wish it were more.
Yeah, I would try and stress that more because, like you said, this one gets 50 offers. This one has the same talent. He just wasn't projected as well. It wasn't.
And the other challenge is the kid that gets 50 offers is often the kid that's getting tons of publicity from all over the place. So that's the kid that not only does UVA and Virginia Tech know about because they're in state here, but Alabama and Auburn and Ohio State, Florida State, what have you, already know about this kid. So there's really less I can do to help the kid who's going to get 50 offers than the kid who might be a Division II or Division III ball player and just needs to be seen. Yes.
So how do you quality control like what people put for their stats? I mean, I remember in high school, like I would get the program passed around, like, and I know I was never on the football team, but I was on the wrestling team with like half these guys, like you're not 6'2", and you definitely don't weigh 220. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
So there is an approval process. Again, I set up each profile, and my first level of requirement is that they are a varsity starter in good academic standing with a plan to play college football. I've had athletes that are baseball players that also play football that don't get listed, and they have busted my chops. Hey, I'm better than so-and-so. Why am I not on the site? You've already committed to play baseball.
Yeah.
This is a football site, and I appreciate what you're doing, but I'm trying to get you recruited for football.
Have you considered expanding sports?
I have a basketball side, but unfortunately, because my brain has to lock in on football 12 months a year, I do have somebody else managing that basketball side. And that goes back to the challenge of finding people who are equally invested and have their heart in the right place to do another sport. And I get told all the time, you need to do wrestling, you need to do track, you need to do volleyball. And usually it's because their kid is involved in those sports.
I admire the fact that you're very selective as far as, like you said, it's a tough racket recruiting. So it's really good that you're focusing on the things they're doing in the parties.
Thank you. Yes.
It strikes me that the value proposition of allowing people to edit their own profiles and you having to manage it initially is actually reversed. If you let them manage your own profiles and you crowdsource a lot of that data that you might have to otherwise manually go around and enter, and if you just had some sort of automated process of ping them and say, hey, you haven't entered this, like LinkedIn does, then that would be fine. Then it makes more sense from the value perspective to charge them $60 to come in and like purify, make the profile great. You know? So improve the profile for $60, let them manage it, at a basic level for free, and then you get more data to give the coaches right off the bat. And then what you can do is you can kind of fluff the profile to make it better when you see holes in it. I don't know, it just seems like you get more value that way for both parties.
Jeremy, do you have, since Jeremy helps me with some of these things, and this site was built before Jeremy and started helping me with it. So we're dealing with actually a redesign right now and adding a lot of functions. And the idea is great. It's just a matter of having that point of contact for that player in order to say, your profile is not complete for only $59.99 a month, or excuse me, a year. You can jump in and upgrade it.
I was
Jeremy.
gonna make a statement. Remember how you told me what I thought was interesting? You told me that Virginia is like the 5th biggest football state. I don't think a lot of people understand.
In terms of recruiting, it's about, I think, the 7th or 8th.
Okay.
But still, considering it's 50 states in the union, we're behind California, Texas, and Florida first, not necessarily in that order. And then Georgia, Louisiana, and I believe Pennsylvania are the states that are ahead of us. So
I'm
it's
surprised that there's so many people reluctant to come down here since we're so high up since we're in the elite top 5 in the nation. It's weird that they wouldn't get this.
and then there's, it's funny, I hear different things. There's objections, of course, all the time from colleges on why they wouldn't. One of them is that the area is over recruited, which I don't agree with. But it depends on the kind of kid you're looking for, because if it was Oregon coming in, now the type of player that Oregon wants is that elite player, and there's between 5 and 10 each year players that I would consider elite. So that narrows it down quite a bit. And if you figure that Virginia and Virginia Tech are going to get their share, even if they got half of those kids, say there's 10 elite players, they take 6. There's only 4 left to fight over, and one of them commits to Florida State, and another one flunks out, and another one goes to inexplicably East Carolina or Old Dominion or whatever. I mean, really, the battle is over just a couple of kids, and for them to make the investment in coming here to recruit, the question for them is, can I get the same player closer to my home state?
I'll tell you another thing maybe to include in their profiles would be the ties that they have to this area, because recruiters may want to know, is he really deep-seated to this area, or is he going to be more open to just...
Sure, and there's a ton of variables that come into play like that. Yes, Jeremy.
Style of player, what does the majority, talent-wise, confidence that the majority of the players here fit? Like you just mentioned, Oregon looks like a certain kind of player. What conference does this area produce the most players?
Well, you can imagine a bell curve lop off the back end of it.
Sure.
So really, I guess maybe it's not a bell curve, but it's a declining number. Your highest talent is in the smallest number.
Sure.
And you regress to the mean of the average football player.
Sure.
So you may have in a recruiting class where we have anywhere from a minimum of 100 to as many as 200 kids that go on to play college ball out of this area. And that's including kids that walk on and kids that play for Division III schools, which doesn't involve an athletic scholarship. The top 10 at the least will play Division I ball, and that's really a conservative number, because I'm talking about 10 elite players, as many as 10 elite players. You may have as many as 30 players that are Division I caliber.
Gotcha.
And Division I caliber means your smaller Division I schools are schools like Norfolk State, Hampton, VMI, Richmond, JMU, Elon. I mean, I can name dozens of smaller Division I schools, and you're going to see more players go to Division I what used to be Division I AA, Division I FCS versus Division I FBS, which FBS is now Old Dominion is in that group, but along with East Carolina and Marshall that recruit here regularly. Of course, your more familiar schools, Virginia, Virginia Tech, West Virginia, Maryland,
So
etc.
you're saying 10 per year only goes to the top.
Oh, at least 10. Well, yeah, 10 per year, around 10 per year. Yes.
So what are you,
Yes, sir.
what are you looking for to grow your business?
Well, the biggest challenge, I mean, I would love to say I'd have an angel investor to grow the business, because my biggest challenge right now is managing growth. And I have just brought on a college coach as my director of scouting, who was at Hampton University for 5 years, 5, maybe even 6, and he finished off as their recruiting coordinator and offensive coordinator, went to Savannah and wanted to come back here, and got a little burned out of the coaching business and loves the recruiting side and the relationships. So it's perfect. And I brought him, perfect marriage, brought him in on an incentive package saying, you're a commissioned salesperson, essentially. So the more college contracts you can develop, the more money you make. And I'm splitting it with you because I've developed this, and he's able to sell in more colleges, and he's handling Northern Virginia as a territory. I have someone handling Richmond as a territory. And the funny thing is, I've found that military folks, my guy who does basketball is a Navy chief who will be retiring soon. My guy who does my 804 region is an Army officer who is going to be retiring soon. So the nice thing is there's a built-in potential for growth with the people I have in place. My biggest struggle is, again, wanting to grow it and manage it. And then it's just a matter of, from a financial standpoint, it's kind of hard to address what would be first. I'd have to come up with, if I had someone willing to make an investment, what would I do? That's the classic Shark Tank question.
I like the fact that you're so involved in that you don't even really have.
Yeah, it's had to, by necessity, as I explained, the revenue streams had to be diverse. I'm growing to the point now where my days are more than full. So you talk about hustling. I hustle a lot, but then the challenge is how to hand off some of those delegate those responsibilities.
Yeah, from an investment standpoint, you're not. I don't think you'd be very attractive to an investor because you're all over the map. Mm-hmm. Investors would like you to concentrate on something and develop that. But on the other hand, if this one doesn't work out, you can always lean on something else. But you're not apparently looking for equity investment.
No, I haven't come here to pitch for equity. If that's a conversation you want to have offline, we can have that conversation. I know there is potential,
but you don't seem to need it.
And
so if you don't need it, don't give equity to somebody else.
Sure, and that's been the nice thing about it is all my baby, and I own it all, and I'm certainly not greedy about it because I see the opportunities down the line. If I put the right people in place, there is an opportunity to spin off parts of this business and sell with sweat equity. For instance, my guy that I brought in who's handling Northern Virginia for me now, he has a great passion for it. If things were to play out where the business continues to grow and there's a reason to spin that part of the business off, he would be a great person to spin it to because he shares my passion for it. Cool. Yes.
Last question.
Have you thought about what you're going to rebrand it as now that you're going beyond the 757?
It's already branded. It's ultimaterecruit.com. Ultimate Recruit. And so we have the new website that Jeremy and I are working on now will be branded under Ultimate Recruit, but the area code system or the geographic system of Recruit Nova, Recruit 804, and Recruit 757 still stand. And the wonderful thing is that I have some contacts that have seen the passion that I have for it and share the passion that I have for it and are interested in getting in down the line. People have volunteered to cover East Carolina for me, for instance, or cover beyond the DC area. So we'll see how that comes together. I just want to manage it in a way that I'm not killing myself to manage all these different pieces as they grow out of my control.
Do you guys think about the number of syllables in the title of your business? There's a lot of syllables.
Well, that's
when you
true.
say so. This funneltraffic.com. Thanks, Jeremy.
Funnel traffic's cultural, man. It's not about that. I don't know if you want to get bigger. But have you thought about something like?
Hey, you had one question.
False.
Yeah. Don't get to it. Talk to him afterwards.
Yeah. Just saying. Yeah.
Funneltraffic.com. How many syllables does that have?
Well, it's 4, but it's going to be reduced to 2.
Whatever. Anyway. Thank you guys all for being here. Thanks to Endurance, also to 80/20 for providing the beverages tonight. Thank you to our 3 performers. Thanks to Comparity, Recruit 757, and
What's the Twitter handle?
WP Daddy, I guess, even though their Twitter is WordPress_Daddy.
The original name was WordPress Daddy.
It's okay. Hey, at least you have a Twitter. You don't know it.
I knew we had it.
I'm just messing. Thank you guys for coming. We do this every third Thursday. If you're interested in presenting, we have availabilities for our members of our 1004 program. There is some information on that in the back, and many of you guys are in the program. Let's help all of you. So,
Join 1004 if you're not, because it's amazing. Zach's a miracle worker, I'll be honest.
thank you, Jeremy. I didn't pay him to say that. And so we'll send out the links. I got to edit some of the videos tonight and tomorrow. We'll send the slide deck out. And I think that's it. So have a couple more minutes, meet with some people, talk with some people, and then when we shut off the lights, that means you gotta leave. Thank you very much.
Oh, kick you out.
Where's your restaurant?
Just diagonally back that way.
It's funny you were.
Every sport is different, so I can tell you right off.